Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Brendan Rodgers has been hit with the one match ban. We spoke about that in length yesterday, but he's been cleared to take to the dugout in a week's time, which is probably more important. But Rodgers, let's face it, he's been talking about the Livingston game, and he says the way that we played Livingston recently, Livingston got far too much of the ball, and attacking wise, we were very good. If you remember those Dies and Myra goals. But Brendan Rodgers says that we give too much away, too much of the ball away, which was a bit of a worry, especially going into this last part of the season. Brendan Rodgers said our mentality is to focus and go to every level of game that we want to play, but making sure that we don't give much up in terms of opportunities and space. If we can do that, hopefully it'll be a good day at the office, says Brendan. Obviously, being that AstroTurf could cause some problems for Celtic and certain players. But who will Brendan Rodgers bring back? Will he bring Rio Hatate right back into the fold? I think Brendan Rodgers will think that Rio does need a bit of game time. Do you bring him on for 30 minutes? Or do you bring him on to that AstroTurf and give him 60 minutes just to make sure that he's as fit as he can be before we play away to that mob next week? We're currently at the top of the table. Let's look at the top of the table. We are currently top of the table by 1 point. They do have a game in hand. If they win on Saturday, they will obviously go to the top of the table, and that puts the pressure onto Celtic. They are at home to Hibernian, whilst Celtic are away, obviously, to Livingston on the Sunday. When you look at the league table, Hibs have got it all to fight for. Hibs have got all. Can Hibernian pull something off at Ibrox? I don't think so. They've got Dundee breathing down their neck with just 2 points. If Dundee were to win at the weekend, that would mean they would overjump Hibernian. Could be that Hibernian could lose out on a top 6 position. So you're kind of hoping that even if Hibernian can get a draw at the weekend, it'd be a fantastic result for us. Be a fantastic result for us, but will they manage to get anything? All eyes will be on them at the weekend to see if they drop any points at all. But let's face it, Celtic need to do the job on the park against Livingston. Livingston are sitting bottom of the table, and their home form has been quite horrendous as their season has. They've only got 17 points for the whole season. They've only won 2 games at home. They've drawn 5 and they've lost 7. And goals for are 9, but goals against are only 20 goals at home. When you look at the goals against away from home, it's 32. So does it mean that because of the way that Livingston play, they're obviously going to sit right back to play with a back five, and it means they're hard to beat. But it's not worked out for them this season. They are on 17 points, and they are the team that are going down. They will go down into the lower division in Scotland, and Celtic just need to win every game. It's as simple as that. Celtic need to win every game. This game is important because it's the next game. We'll talk about the weekend after next week. We need to do the work this weekend. We need to score as many goals because when you look at it, Celtic are only on a goal difference of 48. They're breathing down our neck with a game in hand with a goal difference of 48. So it's going to be that tight. This season is going to come right down to the wire. Regardless of what happens at Ibrox in a week's time, this season will come right down to the last game of the season. It will not be won before then. It'll be won on the last day of the season. So prepare yourselves for a good few weeks of nervousness. Depending on the score at Ibrox, I've got a funny feeling there's going to be a draw at Ibrox. It's just something I've just got this weird feeling about. But if we can get the result at Ibrox, if they get the result, they've got to then come back to Celtic Park. They've got that game in hand. It could look completely different in a couple of weeks' time. Anyway, another player that Brendan Rodgers has been talking about is obviously one that's stepped up to the mark, and he's not really said too much about him recently, but Rocco Vata, he said that Rocco Vata needs to do his talking on the pitch. The teenager is out of contract with Celtic at the end of this season, and it looks like the Italians are stepping up their mark to try and sign the player. If they manage to sign the player, Celtic would only get a compensation of about 300 grand. Why is this taking so long to get this guy's contract done up, sealed and delivered? Vata, who spent 2.5 seasons playing with the Lowland League Celtic B team, came out under Ange Postecoglou towards the end of last season. As a young player, I think we just need to forget about him. If he signs, he signs. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I Celtic player that did sign for Celtic a good few years ago has been talking up Celtic and talking up Celtic's chances. And he's been kind of laughing at the fact that Celtic could be in line for a good bit of money if he moves on this summer. As Jeremy Frimpong talking about Celtic says, my time in Scotland, I'll never forget. I'll be forever grateful to Celtic, especially the fans. They were so welcoming. They took me in and they knew I was a young guy playing, but it was an unbelievable place to play in. Fringbo keeps tabs on Celtic and watching them every now and again. And he says, look, if it wasn't for Celtic, I wouldn't have been able to move to Bayer Leverkusen. And they're currently sitting top of the league with 10 points. Oh, how we would love to be sitting top of the league with 10 points. That would be so much easier, wouldn't it? When you think about all the points that we threw away this season. We didn't really throw them away. We just played absolutely terrible. Celtic have come out with the nominations for player of the season. And it's like, I mean, I still think that Scales will be up there. I think Scales will be up there in and around for player of the season by the fans. When it comes to player of the season from the players, I think he'll definitely get one of the nominations because, let's face it, there's no one else really that's been as consistent. Will Joe Hart get it as a goodbye present from Celtic? Well, you could probably see that all day long. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers won't be in the dugout this weekend. Celtic are playing Livingston at 12 o'clock kickoff at Livingston away. It's going to be a fantastic away day. It's going to be one of the biggest last away fans of the seasons. Livingston have given Celtic over 7,000 tickets just to make sure that they fill the ground and get as much money as they can before they drop down. The Rangers play Hibernian at 3 o'clock on Saturday at Ibrox. I wonder how long it will take them to get a penalty and for VAR to be brought into question once again. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.